What if you've spent your entire life believing you're not smart enough, when the real problem is that your brain has been practicing the wrong habits every single day? From the moment we're children, we're taught that intelligence is something you're born with. Either you have it or you don't. A higher IQ, a better memory, faster answers. As if the smartest people were simply running a more powerful brain. But modern neuroscience points to something far more surprising. Your intelligence may be shaped less by your IQ and more by the habits your brain repeats every single day. Because if speed alone created intelligence, the loudest person in every meeting would also be the wisest. Yet in real life, the opposite is often true. The people who make the biggest decisions, build extraordinary companies, or solve problems everyone else gives up on, usually do something that feels completely unnatural. Instead of racing toward an answer, they deliberately slow their thinking down. And by the end of this video, you'll discover the 5 habits that quietly separate these people from everyone else, including one habit so simple that most people ignore it, even though it can completely change the way they think. But first, and it all starts with one myth that's quietly convincing millions of people they're less intelligent than they really are. The first habit sounds almost too simple to matter. Slow your thinking, because it quietly changes every decision that follows. Picture 2 people sitting in the same meeting. Both hear the exact same question. One answers in 3 seconds. The other says nothing. Everyone assumes they already know who's smarter. Then the question gets harder. The confident answer suddenly starts falling apart, while the quiet person is only just beginning to think. After all, fast answers look like confidence, but confidence and intelligence aren't the same thing. The smartest people understand one psychological trap that catches almost everyone else. Your brain's first answer wasn't designed to be brilliant. It was designed to keep you alive. And those are 2 very different things. So instead of reacting, they pause not because they don't know, because they're searching for a better answer. While everyone else is busy trying to sound intelligent, they're quietly trying to be accurate. And that tiny difference changes everything. Think about the smartest person you've ever met. Were they constantly talking? Or did they listen just a little longer than everyone else? That's not hesitation. That's deliberate thinking. While everyone else thinks they're doing nothing, their brain is running dozens of silent reality checks. It's testing ideas, looking for mistakes, connecting information that most people never stop long enough to notice. Ironically, those extra few seconds often produce answers that save hours or even years of bad decisions. And this is where the story becomes interesting, because this ability isn't reserved for geniuses. Here's the surprising part. The difference isn't the brain they were born with. It's what they consistently choose to do with it. You need a little more patience. But the moment you stop rushing your thoughts, something unexpected begins to happen. Your mind finally gets the one thing modern life almost never allows it to have: silence. And that's where the second habit begins. But slowing down only works if your brain has enough quiet to think. And that's exactly what modern life keeps stealing from us. Most people never stay in that place long enough to hear what their own mind is trying to tell them. Silence, the moment their brain starts generating its own thoughts, they interrupt it with someone else's. Standing in line at the grocery store, waiting for your coffee, even sitting in traffic for 30 seconds, even walking from one room to another. Modern life has trained us to fear empty moments, even though that's where our best thinking usually begins. It feels productive, but your brain quietly pays the price. But here's the hidden cost. Your brain never gets the chance to finish a thought. Instead, it keeps jumping from one distraction to the next. Imagine trying to read a book, but someone closes it every 30 seconds. Eventually, you stop understanding the story. That's exactly what constant stimulation does to your mind. People who solve the hardest problems treat boredom very differently. Boredom isn't the enemy. It's the doorway. Some of history's best ideas didn't appear during intense work. They appeared while people were walking, taking a shower, or simply staring out of a window. Why? Because that's when the brain switches into a deeper mode of thinking. It starts connecting ideas that looked completely unrelated just moments before. The strange part is, some of your best ideas only arrive after you stop chasing them. So the next time you catch yourself reaching for your phone, wait just 60 seconds. Let your thoughts wander. At first, it'll feel strange, then uncomfortable, and then something remarkable happens. At first, your mind feels restless. Then patterns begin to emerge. Suddenly, ideas that seemed unrelated start connecting on their own. You're no longer consuming someone else's thoughts. you're creating your own. But discovering a good idea creates a new danger that almost nobody notices. But silence alone isn't enough, because your best ideas can still become your biggest blind spots. The third habit might be the hardest of them all: training your ego to love being wrong. The moment they discover a new idea, they become emotionally attached to it. Instead of testing it, they defend it. If someone disagrees, it feels personal, as if admitting they're wrong somehow makes them less intelligent. This is where highly intelligent people make a completely different decision. To them, hearing the words, "you're wrong," isn't an insult, it's valuable information. Because every mistake exposes a blind spot, and every blind spot they remove makes them a little harder to fool. It's like trying to win a chess game while refusing to admit one of your pieces is in the wrong position. You can pretend everything is fine, or move the piece and start winning again. That's exactly how highly intelligent people treat their beliefs. Their goal isn't to protect their ego, it's to improve their thinking. And that's why they keep growing, while so many people stay exactly where they are. But even all of these habits share one hidden weakness. They only work if you can separate good ideas from ideas that merely feel good. And that's where the fourth habit quietly changes everything. The fourth habit turns invisible thoughts into something you can actually test. Your brain can produce brilliant ideas, but it can't always tell the difference between a good idea and one that only feels good. That's why some of history's greatest thinkers shared one habit that almost nobody talks about. Before they trusted an idea, they forced it to survive one brutal test. They wrote it down, not because they had perfect ideas, but because they knew their first thoughts were rarely their best. The moment you write an idea down, something changes. Thoughts that felt undeniably true suddenly become ideas you can question. They stop feeling like truth and start behaving like hypotheses. Your brain stops admiring the idea and starts examining it. The gaps become obvious. The weak logic stands out. Questions you never thought to ask suddenly appear. Writing isn't just saving your thoughts, it's testing them. That's why so many inventors, scientists, entrepreneurs, and world-class creators carried notebooks everywhere they went. Because a brilliant idea that can't survive scrutiny was never brilliant to begin with. But even that isn't the habit that separates truly intelligent people. But even the clearest thinking needs one final ingredient. The fifth habit quietly strengthens every other habit you've seen so far: curiosity. Once you notice what truly curious people do differently, you'll realize it's been hiding in almost every conversation you've ever had. The first group wants to sound smart. They interrupt, they argue, they rush to prove they already know the answer. The second group does something different. They ask questions, simple questions, powerful questions. What am I missing? What if the opposite is true? What evidence would change my mind? Those questions don't just uncover better answers, they expose better ways of thinking. They create better thinkers, because every answer closes one door, but the right question opens 10 more. And that's the real difference. Notice something? None of these habits require a higher IQ. They only require a different way of thinking. High IQ people don't protect their opinions. They challenge them. They don't chase the fastest answer. They chase the most accurate one. They don't fear silence. They use it, they don't avoid being wrong. They learn from it. They don't trust every thought they have. They test it. And over time, those tiny habits compound into extraordinary thinking. So maybe intelligence isn't a gift that only a few people are born with. Maybe intelligence isn't something you're born with nearly as much as it's something you practice every single day. A decision to slow down, to think deeper, to stay curious. Because 1 year from today, you probably won't have a different brain, but if you practice these 5 habits consistently, you'll have something even more valuable. A completely different way of thinking. And in the end, maybe intelligence was never something you were born with. Maybe it's something you quietly build one decision, one question, one habit at a time. Because the people who change the world rarely start with a different brain. They start with different habits. And the most dangerous part is this: your brain is already building habits every single day. The only question is whether they're making you smarter or quietly holding you back.